Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Annissa and George. Thanks for tuning in. This discussion is part of my Community Impact Series, where I join Boston residents and those doing business in the city of Boston to bring awareness about their work. I believe that the best way to find solutions to our most pressing issues is by making sure everyone has a seat at the table. Today's discussion will focus on the impact of early education on Boston's children and families. I think it's so important that we're talking about early education and childcare. And, as a mom, as someone who has accessed the childcare system and early education system, it's so important that we are having these conversations and making room for this very important discussion. I'm so glad today to be joined by early education providers for this discussion. Throughout our conversation, we'll take questions in the comment section and do our best to answer as many as possible. Today, I'd love to welcome and ask them to introduce themselves. Kate and Justin have joined us. Please introduce yourselves for our audience. Kate, I'll start with you.
Great. Hi, I'm Kate Barrand. I'm the CEO of Horizons for Homeless Children. We have a child care facility right now in Dorchester, in Roxbury, and in Jamaica Plain. We're about to centralize all of them in Roxbury. We serve about 225 children each day. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us. And Justin, tell us about you.
Hi, Counselor and Kate. Thanks so much for having me here. I'm Justin Pasquarello, Executive Director of East Boston Social Centers. We're a settlement house organization serving people across the lifespan, including with approximately 150 children in early education and care from 2 months to kindergarten entry, and another 150 in school-age programs.
I love it. Thanks so much, Justin and Kate, for being here and thinking about your capacity and the role that you play in providing childcare and early education. Kate, I'd love to start with you. Can you tell us about how you found your way to this field and how you became the executive director of Horizons for Homeless Children?
Well, mine is not a typical path, I have to confess. I started out in the private sector, but I had been trained as an early educator and actually been an early educator of bilingual children for several years. My path here came through a board position that I had for many years on the Horizons board, and my deep and prolonged commitment to making sure that all children have access to an opportunity to thrive. I fundamentally believe that children thrive when they are introduced to high quality early education early on and allowed to arrive at school absolutely ready for success.
I love it. Thanks, Kate. And Justin, tell us how you landed in your spot at East Boston Social Centers.
Also a non-traditional path for me. Before being at East Boston Social Centers, I was at Children's Health Watch, a research and policy organization that improves health and development of young children by informing policies to address and alleviate economic hardships. And through that work and other work, I just knew that about the best return on investment we get for any investment in society is investing in the earliest years. And yet, nationally, we really fail to live up to what we could do in that sector. So I'm grateful that Boston's doing more. Love the communities that we work in, was excited to come and be at this organization. Also the vision of increasing joy in community and to be on the ground, but also I'm excited to work with Kate and others on policy work to continue to support early childhood.
Yeah, fantastic. I actually didn't know that about you, Justin. What a fascinating story. And I'm happy to hear it here on Facebook Live. But just grateful for the work that you do. And I love this idea of bringing joy to our communities for sure across the whole city of Boston. Kate, you and I have talked over the years, especially through my work around ending family homelessness and the important role that your organization, as well as others do, but Kate, yours in particular, to support young people, children who are experiencing homelessness. Can you talk a little bit maybe about that work? And then I want to get to, I think, a really important question and something that we should qualify. What's the difference between childcare and early education?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Well, maybe not what the difference is. Why is childcare really early education?
Yes. Okay, that one I think is an easy one. So I will say that, first of all, Annissa has been an extraordinary counselor, city councilor. Annissa has been an extraordinary advocate for children who are experiencing homelessness and their families. She has been a powerful voice for the last 4.5 years that I'm aware of, leading a group of providers and talking about what the issues and challenges are facing families. And it's been a really critical piece and a very valuable piece of work. When it comes to why I like to call early education as opposed to care, is that children from the youngest, from before they're born, learn through interaction, and they learn through interaction with people and things. And every interaction they have starts to form their brain and their capacity to learn. So what many of us forget, even I, who was trained in early education and early development, forgot for a period of years when my children were growing up that their entire brain structure is put together between 0 and 5. It's an absolutely explosive period of growth, learning, and development. And so what you want in those years for children to thrive is caring adults who can spend quality time interacting with those children and interacting with the things in their lives, be it pots and pans or blocks and cups and saucers. Everything they interact with, every word you say, they learn from. And so this period of life, while it may seem like what we're doing is providing care, particularly to an infant, they're absorbing every bit of that interaction, and through it, all of their neural synapses are being developed. So it is absolutely about learning and creating a vibrant and strong brain. So that's why I call it education, and I think that's why others have capitalized on that movement as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been a movement in, language and the phrases and the words that we use to describe what we do is really important and can change and shift the way that we think about that work and those exchanges and those interactions and how we build those relationships. And, Justin, we talk about the joy for the community. Kate mentions this. I'm just looking at my notes here, that age range from 0 to 5, how there's the explosive period of growth, right? But that also intersects very directly with the family. So when I think about that phrase you use, the joy of the community, joy of the relationship, how at East Boston Social Centers, which I know very well from my time in East Boston, how do you interact both when we think about the child and early education and the relationship with family and community?
Thank you, Counselor. Yeah, and I just want to add too, in terms of the importance of emphasizing early education, that the work that our teachers do is challenging work, and it's important to recognize that it's challenging and difficult work, and it's part of moving toward recognizing that through their compensation. So East Boston Social Centers serves a really diverse group of families. We're in a neighborhood that probably has the largest share of immigrants in the entire Commonwealth, and so we have multilingual families. We have staff who speak multiple languages to help to best support those families. We have a significant number of children involved with the Department of Children and Families, children with a variety of developmental needs. And we work with partners to bring in the supports that those children need to thrive in our programs, and really grateful for those partnerships. Neighborhood Villages also has been a great partner for us, and I know for Kate as well, in helping.
What organization is that?
Neighborhood Villages.
Oh, nice. I don't know them. Okay.
They do outstanding work and really help us to bring more of those wraparound supports, both for education and instruction and for families.
And so what are some of the ways that we support families, especially thinking about the families of children who are 0 to 5, and making sure and supporting the family and continuing that opportunity for growth and education and exposure to the ways that we do enhance a young child's life?
Just want to apologize for my mic too.
Okay,
Sorry about that. So I think one thing that's been really important during this crisis is that the Department of Early Education and Care has fully covered the fees that families pay to be in our early education and care programs. And that makes a critical difference, particularly in this time when families have been struggling with bouts of unemployment, with housing instability, with food insecurity, to be able to cover those costs so that families can be working to get back into work if they need to, so they can stay enrolled in our programs and invest their limited resources to meet other needs. That's a great support. With Neighborhood Villages and beyond, we have a family worker and a family navigator who help to have those individual conversations with families about what their needs are. And I think the most effective early education and care programs help families meet with real needs as well. So something that we really want to do more of is two-generation work to help parents toward their workforce goals at the same time that they're in our program.
So, I'll pick up a little bit on Justin's comment. I think one of the things that's changed so dramatically during the pandemic for early educators is that we found ourselves in the disaster relief mode business. So, Horizons normally provides 80% of a child's nutrition each day, also supported obviously by federal money. But in this case, during the pandemic, we've actually found ourselves, and through neighborhood villages, we're helped to do this, needing to provide our families with cash assistance, which we never have had to do because they couldn't buy their fundamental needs as a family for diapers, wipes, things that children need. We also have been providing food every other week in dry goods and fruits and vegetables because during this pandemic, we realized that our families had much more significant needs than they'd ever had before. And we needed to be part of that solution. But we couldn't have done it without these amazing partners and frankly, without the EEC's support as well.
Yeah, no, partnership is such a big part of your work for sure. And whenever we think about our communities and any group of our residents that are especially vulnerable during a time like this, and we think about the global pandemic and all the impacts that COVID has had on our families across our city, but also the impact of the experiences that existed before. When we think about trauma, we think about poverty, we think about food insecurity that existed pre-COVID. Food insecurity has become a more important focus of our work when we think about COVID, but we know, and you know for sure through the work that you've been doing for so long, how it has existed forever. And Kate, you work in particular with the families that are experiencing homelessness and housing insecurity. Can you talk a little bit specifically about where you find yourselves working and who you're partnered with?
Gosh, we have so many partners. What we try to do is really wrap families in a host of services while they're with us because they're really at such a moment in their lives that is one full of trauma for both child and parent. And so we try to alleviate that. We've got partnerships with many organizations, two that come to mind that really help us on the mental health front, which is wrapped into our day-to-day early education program, is JF&CS and Jewish Families and Child Services. Extraordinary people that have a tremendous program in infant mental health in particular. So they're in our classrooms all the time. Home for Little Wanderers also provides mental health support to our families. And so those are some of the services. Obviously, we're also a Head Start provider, and that allows us to bring in a host of other nutrition and dental and other services so that we try to provide many, through all these partners, a much more holistic approach because, families experiencing homelessness are having challenges on multiple fronts. Right. What we'll be doing in the future is we actually have a healthcare provider moving into our child care building with us, and we'll have full family and child services on site for every family enrolled at Horizons so that they can get mental health, behavioral health, women's health services all on site, and also health for their children, obviously, if they're having runny noses and colds, which they do. But so we're really, our belief is that we have to deal with the whole family and their whole family situation. So we have to do it through partnerships.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that focus on whole family and creating sort of that one-stop shop experience is really important to making sure that families can access all of those services. You make it convenient, make it easy, you make it, it happens in partnership, it happens. Justin, Kate used the phrase, all of the sudden organizations like yours started, found yourself in the disaster relief business. And that happened literally overnight. Also during this time, though, I know there's lots of future planning happening. As the city reopens, as children return, as we find our way back to some sort of new normalcy, how do we think about the future? And how do we think, what are some of the challenges that you're going to face, and what are some of the ways that government, that the city, that private partners, that other nonprofit organizations, what are the ways that we can hopefully support some of those challenges that we see coming down the pike?
Thank you, Counselor. I think this is in many ways, it might sound strange to say this, but it's an exciting moment because in this crisis, we have seen how broken some things were, and there's a new level of commitment to trying to fix them and to go after the big solutions we need and not just try incremental steps. And I think the federal funding that's coming in provides a lot of really exciting opportunities. Something that we're doing in East Boston that we've been really moving forward in the past year is leading a movement called Every Child Shines, which has the mission to ensure that all East Boston children enter kindergarten joyful, thriving, and ready to learn. And similar to Kate, I think there have been so many partners who've been helpful for us. The Basics has been an outstanding partner, bringing 5 simple evidence-based practices to caregivers to help children to thrive in the earliest years. But we're really just getting started. We want to build an integrated data system, and I think this could be a model that the city as a whole could look at. So the experience that Kate talked about of families being able to get all the support they need in one place, we want to make sure that that's accessible for children even who aren't in a formal care setting. So how do we take this really fragmented system and give parents more of the experience of there being no wrong door and being able to access all the supports they need? The data system is part of that. There are a lot of resources in Boston, and we need to map them to be able to better understand where there are gaps and overlaps so that we can serve more children. So I think that's a really exciting opportunity, and the funds that are coming in can enable us to invest in some critical infrastructure that can help us to move forward.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I'm actively taking notes here. I've talked to the two of you a number of times, and I still continue to learn every time we do have a conversation. And this idea of, the challenges of a fragmented system, exist across multiple sectors, not just early ed. But I love the idea of this no wrong door. We've tried to apply that to our work at our city council office. And Kate, a lot of the families that you work with, I know it's the same for you, Justin, but the families and the children and the families that you work with have hit multiple wrong doors or doors that won't open. And you provide this very unique opportunity to, welcome in and let's figure this out together. And I just, I want to just uplift that and say that out loud because that no wrong door idea is,
it's a beautiful concept.
I know it's a beautiful concept, and this idea that every child shines is also one too. So when you're ready to roll that out, or if there's some highlights from that we can share publicly so families are more aware of it, that'd be great. That's great.
We're gonna have our
that's in large
coming up, so I'll let you know.
Oh, good. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Kate. What were you going to say about
I was going to say, in large part, the whole reason that we built our building, which is quite spectacular and state of the art, was this notion of lifting families up. And no child should be in a basement learning.
Right.
And so what we've tried to do is to really honor the humanity and the dignity of all families by building something for their children that says you have tremendous value and you have endless opportunity. And that's, a big piece of what we tried to do. And so I think it's a wonderful time for all of us to try and lift up the children. Yeah,
no, and COVID, as devastating as the pandemic has been on our families, certainly from a healthcare perspective and a healthy living perspective, so many of our families have been sick, have had loss, the loss of economic opportunity and the challenges that just COVID has brought to our residents has been devastating. Mm-hmm. But there have been some glimmers of hope, and there are things that we learned how to do very quickly because of COVID. Kate, can you talk a little bit about some of the ways that you did shift a delivery of services and what we maybe hope to keep on the other side of COVID?
Yeah, we've had some real breakthroughs on a variety of fronts. I mean, one thing is, our centers, and Justin has been in the same place. I mean, we opened in July and we've been having the children come every day. And yes, they're wearing little masks and they get kind of a kick out of that, I think. And we've got plexiglass. So, we've learned how to operate in a sanitary kind of environment. And the children are still learning and thriving. So that's the beauty of it. In some of our other programs, we had to really get creative because we go into shelter and we offer learning experiences and play in shelter. And suddenly we found ourselves not allowed to go in and parents and children not allowed to leave for a long period of time. So we actually distributed tablets, which we never do for young children because we don't really want them on tablets. But when you're having a pandemic, the world changed. So we distributed tablets, and what we've discovered in the funniest way is that we can have a virtual experience with a child on a tablet, and B, we found that we started a wonderful dialogue with their parent, and that nobody, in the case of homeless parents, very few people are asking about their children. They're mostly focused on whether they have housing, whether they have jobs, whether they have a plan. And suddenly we started holding parent forums and talking about child development and the crazy things kids do. And we have found overwhelming support that parents are like, oh, somebody wants to talk about my child and how they develop. And so out of this crazy pandemic came a new opportunity to engage with families in support of their child and their child's growth and development.
That's wonderful. And so will the tablets continue?
Well, so we'll continue doing virtual, but we'll hope that children are back playing with toys and puzzles and things and not engaging with us on tablets. We've started our outdoor play periods, so they're back to play in a normal way.
That's great. I love that. But that engagement, that recognizing that, this tool or this tool that was helping us through this moment in time has actually created a new opportunity. It's almost as if you're entrepreneurs.
There you go.
Taking advantage of a crisis and seeking the opportunity that it has presented us. And that's finding a different way to engage families in your work, which is pretty spectacular, because families, through both of your work, sometimes it's difficult to engage families because they are focused on, whether it's work or working 2 jobs or working extra hours, supporting other children, other family members. So finding those moments to connect, especially with parents and families, is difficult. But there's, maybe there's some opportunity there to do more of that going forward, especially, let's hope, post-pandemic. Justin, what were some of the creative ways that you had to engage with extended family through the course of this pandemic?
There were a few things that I was thinking about on the question of things that we've learned that we want to continue to do. So I think we've always responded some to the basic needs of families, but as we talked about, yes, this is a unique crisis, but many of our families were in crisis before, and I think this just shines a brighter light on that. And we've been grateful for Boston Resiliency Fund, United Way, Liberty Mutual, a variety of individuals and others who've stepped up to give us funds so that we can meet the needs in our community. And I hope that some of those partnerships will continue so that we can continue to provide support and some of it's been direct cash, housing assistance, utility assistance, just recognizing that a variety of needs come up that can threaten financial stability, and we want to keep meeting those. A second thing that's been really helpful has been increased collaboration with partners, including Kate. A group of us really came together at the beginning of this unprecedented time. We needed support. We needed to talk to each other and say, what are you going to do with this next issue that's coming up next week? And so I'm grateful for that collaboration and look forward to that continuing. I've learned so much, and it's been so helpful to have that support.
Well, I think one thing for me, in addition to that, we've seen how essential early education providers are, especially, I've got my kids are home doing school, and I'm a former high school teacher and still feel very much ill-equipped to manage both work and making sure they're doing what they need to do. They're in high school, so they're a little bit more independent. But when we talk about our young children and how difficult this year has been, this last year plus now, especially for families with young children in the household, compensations come up. And I know that compensation for your employees, for those that are doing the work every single day, has been a topic of discussion and concern, and quite frankly, something that we need to sort of change. We have to change the way that we do that business because we see how important it is. Kate, you want to talk a little bit about consent?
That's like putting a flag in front of a bull. Red flag.
So the question I really want to ask, but I know that this is going to be one of the answers you'd offer, is if we had a magic wand, what are the things that we would change when we think about this industry, especially going forward? And I think compensation is one of it. One of those things. Tell me, Kate.
So it is. So I'll start with two things. The silver lining of the pandemic is that we now understand that this is vital infrastructure for healthy economies and healthy families. So that's brilliant. And I think it made us realize that about 10 years ahead of the tipping point that we were going towards. So brilliant. The second piece is that the financial model supporting early education is flawed and it needs to change. It's based on attendance and it should be based on capacity. We're not a variable cost, we're business. We're a fixed cost business. We need teachers in classroom. The other piece, which is so important that you first mentioned, Counselor, is compensation. Right now, we have a workforce who has been on the front lines through the pandemic, and by the way, for years, that are paid on average $30,000 a year. It's unconscionably low. It's about 34% less than their colleagues in the public school system, and it's fundamentally not a living wage. So 30 to 40% of our employees at any given time are out getting assistance from the federal government in a variety of ways because they can't afford their basic daily needs. And the thing I want to say is that we have early educators who are literally molding the minds of the next generation. And many of them have to get a second job after working a long 8-hour day. They have to get a second job to be able to pay their heat. That's fundamentally inappropriate. So if there's any wand I could wave, it would be change the way the system's structured and paid, and for God's sake, pay our teachers a salary that is a living wage and really recognizes the capacity and the skills that they bring to the space.
Yeah, love it. Thank you for that. That's great. Justin, magic wand, something that we could change sort of overnight. If you had that power, what would it be? And that really does inform so much of the work that we have to do.
Yeah, I would just build off what Kate said. I think people talk about 3 legs of the stool. So having us move toward a universal system, there are a lot of families who fall through the cracks right now. And to Kate's point about how essential this is for the economy, our economy already wasn't reaching its potential because we weren't providing care for everyone who needed it. So universal, and with that is affordability. It has to be affordable for parents to access it. And then the equitable compensation is critical. And then I think integrating this fragmented system so that we're really bringing together all those who are trying to provide support for our youngest children and getting them on the right path in this time of critical brain development.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for that. So we've got about a minute and a half left. I want to make sure that anyone watching or listening at home knows if they are able to support either one of your organizations. I'd like them to know how they can do that. Justin, share a little bit about East Boston Social Centers and give us the website and the little bit of a pitch.
Thank you so much, Counselor. Well, we've identified a few of the big needs that people can help support here. We're building this movement to help all children enter kindergarten joyful, thriving, ready to learn. And with additional support, we'll reach more children and be more comprehensive in that work and develop a model. We need to increase compensation for our staff. So those are definitely 2 big needs. We have ongoing facilities needs. And our website is ebsoc, first 3 letters of social.org, ebsoc.org. Thank you.
I love it. And I know that this has been a difficult year for so many of our nonprofit partners across the city of Boston because we haven't been able to do the usual celebrations and galas and fundraisers in person. So Kate, if you want to share with us how anyone listening or watching can support your work.
So any support that you can give is always appreciated and goes straight to the children and families who are experiencing homelessness across our state. So if you're interested, www.horizonschildren.org is a great place to start. We can take online donations of any size and greatly appreciate them. Thank you, Counselor.
I love it, Kate. I love it, Justin. Thank you both for joining me this afternoon for a little conversation about your work and some of the unfinished business within the early education field and how we can be more supportive. Conversations like this inform my work and are critical to keeping us moving forward and making progress. If you have organizations, guests, or topics you recommend for this broadcast, please email me at Annissa@AnnissaForBoston.com. Justin, Kate, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you so much.